So this week on the Any Given Runday podcast, we have the elite national champion, Irish national champion, who has represented our country in the European Elite Senior Sprint Triathlon Champs and the World University Championships. She was also the Junior National Triathlon Champion. And at only 20 years old, she's got... Are you sure you're only 20? Is that right?
20.
I don't even think I entered a single race when I was 20. Saoirse O'Brien, welcome to this week's episode of the Any Given Runday podcast. How are you getting on?
Not too bad. Thanks very much for having me.
Saoirse, you've done more at 20 than Sean's done at nearly 40. How do you do it? How have you done it? Sean can't even spell his own name right. He has to take a time to think about it. Saoirse, what Sean has said is nothing short of amazing, but everyone usually starts from somewhere. Have you been doing this for a long time? Is triathlon something you've done since young? How did you get into this?
Definitely not done triathlon for a very long time. About 2 years into it now. But yeah, started off doing a lot of kind of GAA, any kind of sports really. A lot of GAA, a lot of tennis, a lot of things. Then I kind of got into swimming and athletics separately, partly through clubs and through school, and then ended up kind of figuring out that triathlon might work for me. So yeah, got into it about 2 years ago and then still doing it now.
See, a lot of people when they get into triathlon or usually those who have the advantage are those who have swam since they were really, really young, since they were 8, since they were 9 and they were getting on. You're talking about 17, 18, getting into triathlon. Were you a good swimmer? Do you take the sports naturally? Obviously, you've done so many sports, you take them naturally. You seem to be very talented in multiple sports. How was it transitioning into the swimming and putting it all together? Obviously, you've done each of them individually. Did it feel like it was the right fit for you?
Yeah, I suppose I've been thinking about it for a couple of years. I started swimming when I was 11, really, but all pool swimming. And then it kind of came to COVID and I got into a bit more of the open water stuff. I was always kind of naturally going for the longer distances as well. So
within your 5K, of course, yeah. Don't do it. We won't.
Laps, Saoirse, laps.
Yeah, so I ended up doing a 10K actually over COVID.
5K out and back loop, you're dead right.
Staring at a lot of blank water for a bit too long, I'd say. I enjoyed it, but I'm glad not to be doing too much of it as well. The people that do it are fairly mad. But yeah, no, I kind of, because of COVID, then was doing a lot more of that, but then wasn't swimming in the pool for couple of months, I suppose, and a bit like everyone, wasn't swimming as much, ended up running a bit more, and yeah, we kind of ended up then deciding after a while that I wanted to get into the triathlon. So that's kind of how it came back around. But yeah, I've stopped pool swimming then, kept up the running the whole time, and yeah, kind of ended up veering into triathlon really because of running injuries. I've kind of had 5-6 stress fractures now since I was 15. So yeah, I kind of always loved the running, but knew I was never really going to be able to do it a massive amount just because of them injuries and I couldn't really get on top of them. So now I'm kind of able to manage it a little bit better, having done the 3 sports.
It's amazing because most people look at COVID and go, I've just lost 3 years of my life. But for you, it was kind of a catalyst for a triathlon career, essentially, or as a young athlete. Do you look at it like that? Is it weird that you came through COVID and like, wow, I came into COVID as I could swim, I could play football, I could play tennis, and now I come out the other side as European Championships, national. How does that feel? Was it a weird transition? Was it in some way nice to have nothing else but sport to kind of focus on?
Yeah, in some ways. I suppose in the pool, I felt like I really took a couple of steps backwards. And I don't think kind of since then, I don't think I've ever kind of been at the same level in the pool. And I'm not swimming as much now as I was before COVID either. But I think from kind of even a mental point of view, you were kind of stuck in the same place and kind of had to put your head down a little bit. And it definitely got me on the bike a bit more. So yeah, it helped from that point of view anyway.
You must be doing a lot of cycling. If the running's going down the stress factors, you're saying you're not as good in the pool, and you haven't mentioned cycling too much apart from just there. And I've seen all these accolades circle. I'm like, how is this happening?
Yeah, I don't know. I I still find that like my skills and stuff on the bike are definitely where I'm kind of lacking. But I think from a power point of view, I presume it's just kind of having done other sports and stuff, it's probably the easiest to get into. Without, I suppose, aside from the skills point of view, just from like a general fitness point of view, I think I kind of had that a little bit before. But yeah, I could definitely do a good bit more work now on the handling, I'd say.
So when you're talking about power, you do sprint triathlon mostly. Which is your favorite? The sprint, the Olympic? Would you go longer or not so much?
I haven't figured it out.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
sprint is where you're happy at the minute, is it?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, I suppose a lot of the international racing is kind of going a bit more sprint focused as well. So it's kind of where I'm looking at it a little bit more at the moment. But I definitely like to do a bit more kind of Olympic and potentially a bit longer then as well in the future.
So for those who don't know, and I know most people do know, but a sprint triathlon is 750-meter swim. It's a 20-kilometer bike and a 5K run to finish. Isn't that right?
Yeah.
How long does it take you to get around a course on average? Obviously, courses change, but roughly.
Yeah, I suppose kind of in and around like an hour or two, an hour and 10, give or take the course it is and whether or not it's draft legal or non-draft legal. So yeah, I suppose it depends a lot on the course then as well. But
Sean's looking at you in disbelief. He wouldn't walk to the shop in an hour and 10 minutes.
I just remember when I was doing training for Mondello, I'm doing 20K in around an hour or so on the bike. I mean, like, proud of it. Let alone the swimming, the running. Saoirse, what was the first race you did in terms of triathlons? And you were like, I really believe now I could be wearing an Irish bib and going over to Europe and all these places like Hamburg and everything else you've been to and representing Ireland. Was there a significant race or moment where you were like, we're really onto something here?
yeah, I suppose kind of it was a tie 2 years ago when I won the national junior champs, or a year ago. I actually can't even remember now. But yeah, I'd say that's probably what it was. I guess I kind of before that, like I wasn't really racing a massive amount. I think I'd only done 2 sprint triathlons before that, and I think it was the first race I did wearing cleats as well on the bike. So yeah, it was definitely a bit of a change. But yeah, kind of got into it, got a bit more confidence, I think, in myself from that.
So when people are talking to you in the lead up to this, according to my notes, it's 2023, you won the Junior National Triathlon Championship in the Triathlon. The week of leading up to this, and someone's like, Saoirse, you know, how are you getting on for this race? How do you feel for this race? And you may have been modest and not said it to them, but was there any part of you of all that was like, I'm going to win this thing?
No.
Saoirse, you reek of modesty. It's disgusting.
I idea what I was getting myself into. I think that was the biggest issue.
So hold on. So was this the first race you used cleats in?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
So for those, cleats are the shoes where you clip in, and for those who have ever tried it, is usually where they fall off the bike for the first 3 or 4 times. It's quite a difficult thing to get used to, particularly in transitions in a race environment, and particularly in a sprint environment where every second really, really counts. How did you practice for? Did you practice for it in the week coming up to it? Were you nervous that in transition? Do I remember how to click out? Like, obviously, you weren't thinking of European Championships. You were just thinking, if I don't fall off, this is going to be a good day.
Yeah, definitely. It was, I think I kind of had them for, I think about 5 months or so beforehand. I got them just after Christmas the year before. So I think Triathlon was in May, and then it was about 5 months before. And I'd kind of been using them a bit, but again, I wasn't training a massive amount on the bike either. I still preferred the swimming and the running. So I was kind of doing what I could. I wouldn't say I did a massive amount of transition practice now specifically, but I'd done the odd bit and it kind of got me through.
There's definitely athletes listening to this going, she didn't even bother.
I think
Which
it's like
shows
a leap of faith a little bit as well, that you'll get there and you'll be grand. Like
So you start off in the river, and obviously your swimming background, you feel good afterwards, and you're trying these cleats on for the race first time, getting through and getting the cleats off, I'm assuming, obviously, before going for the run for the 5K. Was there any point, and obviously you're mixed in with different groups, different times, or maybe you're not, I'm actually too sure, I've never done one, At what point during the race were you like, I'm actually competing for this?
I suppose so. The way the national champs for the sprint, or for the draft legal racing works is you're put in with kind of all the seniors and stuff as well. Seeing as I had no idea what I was doing on the bike, I didn't really know who was in the race either. And to be honest, like it's a small enough group anyway for the draft legal. So yeah, I didn't really know. I was a good bit behind the top senior girls in it. I was kind of just on the bike by myself a little bit. I think there was one or two others kind of around me. And then I kind of knew by the time I was on the run that I was in the front, but I didn't really know, to be honest.
Is there kind of a little bit of peace in that? Because we've had athletes on that say, oh, I recognize Sean from all my track and field days and we grew up together. I hated him, but I love the competition. Is there a little bit of peace in not knowing who's there and just going, I'm just going to go as fast as I can?
Yeah, definitely. I think it just kind of allows you to just kind of race as best you can. I think I've definitely experienced the other side of it as well, kind of since then. But yeah, it's all kind of in the learning process, I suppose.
I'm looking at when I did my first triathlon in 2019 and it was Olympic. I think I forget the time it took me to get around. It was probably a very long time. In around the 2 hours, 30 minutes or something. I can't quite remember. But there is, for me, that sense of community element, even on the track, because I'm not trying to win the race. When you are competing at that level, does it help to be part of clubs? Like how are you training with people? How are you now preparing? Because obviously you've come up to a different level. I want to say you're a long way from 2 years ago, but you're not a very long way from 2 years ago. But what has changed, I suppose, in your life in terms of, okay, it's time to start putting the science behind this. It's time to start getting the training behind this. What way has your structure in your training and your approach to it changed from the days of the non-cleats to now of, okay, I'm taking it serious. I'm racing on European circuits. How has it changed for you over the last 2 years?
I think it's definitely kind of building a bit of a team around you. I still do a good bit of my training by myself, but I kind of have that support when I need it. I also, coming back to kind of the importance of clubs, I suppose, I'm in with Piranha Triathlon Club at the moment, and even I don't train a massive amount with them, but whenever I'm racing, like you'd always kind of see people, you're passing them by, or like you're kind of passing them on the course at some stage, and getting that bit of kind of encouragement halfway through the run when you're feeling like crap and you want to nearly pull out, getting that bit of encouragement is really, really nice. And it definitely kind of pushes you on a bit. Yeah, I suppose in terms of my training, when I would have won the national junior champs there, I was just finished first year college, I think. So yeah, now definitely changed a little bit more than in kind of my environment and stuff around training. Swimming a good bit more, I suppose. And yeah, again, still trying to work on my bike handling skills. But yeah, a lot of my training I do by myself just because there's not a massive amount of kind of triathletes around that I'm kind of able to get training with. But yeah, it's all just kind of trying to figure out how to fit it into your life, I suppose, around like college work and then just to be able to buy a bike.
And competing, yeah, buying a bike. And Sean got a fright when he seen the price of actual bikes, and they weren't even the top tier of
Yeah.
bikes when he heard how much I paid for mine just to go 10 minutes quicker around an Ironman. But if we were looking at university, how do you manage? Because student athlete in the US is very much athlete plus student. They've two lives. They live them. It's very tough. They have to keep great averages. In Ireland, from my experience, athlete was kind of like, well, we don't really care that you play sport. Like it was your college was this, and you always had to get signed out of something else. There was no real program for athletes and development. How has it changed since the 10 years since myself and Sean were in college? Is it any better now? Do you have much support in university, or what way does it work? Because I know clubs and societies are always active, but I never really remember triathlon. I always remember swimming. I always remember athletics. There was never really a try. Has that changed, or what is it like for you now?
Yeah, so I suppose at the moment, as you say, triathlon's still quite a small sport in Ireland, and definitely doesn't get the kind of same recognition as swimming and athletics and cycling do. I'm in UCD now at the moment, so there is quite big teams for swimming, athletics and cycling. But yeah, triathlon is we're still trying to get it going. We're hoping now this year that we'll kind of get a bit more of a push on that. But yeah, it's kind of hard to find a big enough group of people as well to kind of get it started. And most of these clubs are student led as well. So it's kind of finding the time in around that. I'm quite lucky. I'm studying physio at the moment. So I do get, I suppose a lot of the people that are in my course with me are also quite sports interested, I suppose. So yeah, I'm kind of lucky that way that I do have a good bit of support from, like, say, friends and even my family and stuff. But from a college point of view, I'm definitely not more athlete than I am student. I'm still quite focused kind of on my degree and stuff. And I suppose for the next, I'm halfway through third year now, so for the next year and a half, it's gonna stay that way and kind of get through the degree and try keep triathlon as much as I can.
So looking at your injuries from when you're 15 with stress factors, and now you're going through a degree, looking at physiology, biology, you're looking at athletes, you're looking at all ranges of life, ranges of movement, everything else. Have you used yourself as a bit of an example in your studies, or I get this theory of, oh, so stress factors, how are they? And you're like, haha. Have you had any eureka moments in terms of how you take on your own training, or what it is you're doing with your body on a daily basis, and have applied what you're learning into your coach or into your training and coaching? What has changed for you? And I suppose, what benefits does it be of being a physio and athlete?
Yeah, I suppose it's a nice idea to a certain extent that I might be able to prevent my own injuries, but I think you're probably the worst person to treat yourself. I
Very fair.
Yeah, I'd like to be better at it, but yeah, I think I could definitely probably do a bit more strength training than I do. Yeah, I think more the way that I've kind of dealt with my injuries and stuff is just from having them, and kind of learning from that experience of knowing when to pull myself back and knowing kind of what kind of pain is an okay amount of pain, and the type of, I suppose, again, strength training that I need to be doing a bit more of. Yeah, I, again, need to be doing a bit more of, which I definitely don't do enough of. Yeah, it's a quite a complicated, I think the biggest thing I've learned really from physio is how different everyone is. There's definitely no kind of one size fits all in terms of the treatment that you can give anyone. I'm on placement at the moment, and you kind of see a massive range of different patients, and be it athletes or just people trying to kind of get back from any kind of injury. And yeah, I think from that you kind of learn that you have to have a lot of compassion for yourself and for other people. I've had a lot of tests done to try figure out why I'm getting all the stress fractures. I've kind of looked into my training quite a bit and again tried to figure out why I'm getting them all. And you're not always going to find a very specific answer. So yeah, it's kind of trying to fit the training in and around your own life as well, I think is quite important, even in terms of like times when there's a bit more stress and you might need to kind of reel back the training a little bit. I think that's really important, just to, yeah, again, have a bit of compassion for yourself and yeah, not to put a massive amount of pressure all the time. It's not always your fault as to why they happen.
It's funny hearing your physio brain jump in there for a second, be like, yeah, no, get more strength training and stuff, and then you just completely dismissed it as you were talking there. You're talking there as well about like trying to find time for your studies and the training and all the rest, but there's a lot of stuff you did last year where you were going abroad. Like you went to Hamburg with the Ireland under-23s, the mixed team relay world championships. First up, how does a relay work in a triathlon, before we talk about the fact you represented your country? And was that the first time you represented Ireland in a triathlon stage?
Yes, it was. It was an interesting experience. Definitely learned a lot from it. We'll come back to that. It wasn't my proudest of moments, but it was a very good experience all the same. The relay is most of the time, so there's when it comes to international racing, it's really just like really short triathlons. So they vary in terms of distance, but generally the swim is between like 200 and 300 meters. The bike is really anywhere from 5 to 10k, and then the run can be anywhere really from like 1.5 to 2k. So
it's an all-out sprint for everyone.
Yeah, basically, yeah.
Wow.
You did all those 3 disciplines and then tag out the next person to do a swim again?
Yes, exactly, yeah. So it's
wow.
Whoa.
Separate sports, yeah.
Like I know they're shorter, but understanding the effort is like if anyone's ever even tried to swim 25 meters maximum effort, like it's hard, and it's, unless you're graceful, it's you're gassed, and then a 5-ish K on the bike maximum effort, that's going to be hard. And then you're getting off trying to run at a 3:10, 3:45 just to be as fast as you can over a kilometer. Wow. How much did you want to get sick?
Too much. Definitely too much.
Oh my God. What does it feel like?
Oh, it's very different from kind of your regular triathlons, I suppose. Yeah, it's very much, you feel the lactate just building up, and you just have to go with it and know that you're going to be in a lot of pain for the whole thing. And if you're not in a lot of pain, you're probably not doing it exactly right. Yeah, it's a bit different from
Even
like your normal 5k run as well. It's very much, you kind of have to think about it a lot during it as well. The transitions are really, really important.
yeah.
Yeah.
I was going to bring up the transitions there, just like, because I saw Eric in the transition period between the bike and going for a run. I had a meal in between it just to make sure he had all his cleats on and off and changed the run and all the rest. But like that time period was something so short. Like that would be snappy like an F1 changeover, and that one like any, and then trying to think too fast, trying to get all your stuff done real fast before getting back out. I definitely sprint back out with my helmet on me after like everyone else has long and truly gone after me. But like how nerve-wracking was that bit?
Yeah, I think if you come back to Hamburg, I probably didn't have the best T1 there, and I felt the
no, you're gonna have to tell us.
Rewind. What happened?
Tell us. Come on. Nobody's listening. It's just me and Sean.
the bike nearly went straight into a barrier, so that wasn't my best experience. But yeah, it depends as well where in the race you are, I suppose. I suppose in Ireland we don't have a massive amount of history with the mixed team relay. It's a new enough thing anyway, but yeah, I suppose it's trying to make sure that you're getting on the back of every single pack. So every time a new person starts, you kind of want to stay with that front group if you can. Because it's all draft legal racing, the making sure you get into that pack on the bike is really, really important. So in that particular race, I was the 4th leg, so I was the last one to go, and we had kind of already lost the front pack. But then, yeah, when I cycled into a barrier at the very start, it didn't really help.
Yeah, you definitely lost the pack then.
Yeah.
So a lot of it comes down to strategy. So which would you prefer? Do you prefer draft legal or the opposite? Oh, you can't say draft legal just because it's easier if you're in a pack. Which do you prefer?
I don't know. I suppose the most of draft legal stuff I've done has been races where I think I've put a lot more pressure on myself.
Okay.
But in a way, the reward is bigger from them as well. So yeah, it's hard to know. I think I'd need to do a few more of them to really figure out. Yeah, it's quite a hard one for me to figure out, I think, now.
If you're in a draft legal race, and obviously you're competing at the top and you're in the top, if you're that person in the first bike, and you're obviously everyone then is drafting after you, correct me if I'm wrong on this, if they're drafting after you for, let's say you're doing a sprint triathlon for 20k, surely if you're in front, you're like, I need to drop behind here, because otherwise if I stay in front, my legs are going to be burnt at the start, and the person behind me is going to have an advantage on me, even though I'm technically leading the race up until now. How does that strategy and mindset work?
Yeah, I suppose it's kind of knowing yourself on the bike a little bit as well, like what your strengths are. I think everyone in triathlon has different strengths, and when you get onto that bike, you're kind of trying to work with the group. It's really important that you do work with the group, and that's how you're kind of going to catch maybe the group in front, or make sure that the group behind you doesn't catch up on you. So if they're all letting you do all the work, you're going to die quicker as well, and you just won't move as fast as a group.
So in the individual race, you are working together in different groups for a certain stage, and then it's like every person for themselves when you get back onto the run.
Yeah, to a certain extent, yeah. I think it depends on who's in that pack with you as well, and if you know that someone else has a really good run, you're kind of trying to
drop them
harder. Yeah, well,
that's a phenomenal concept. I can't think of another race that's like that.
Yeah, it's
well, if you think of it, if all the bad runners and the good cyclists stick together to give themselves a chance of beating the good runner, because they know, well, in a short race, if you put a certain distance, and then it's just a case of, right, between the three of us, who's got the legs? Because the good runner, we're after leaving about half a kilometer, but we've already got 2 minutes on that one. Or, you know, if the group is clever enough, it could work.
The only problem with that is I'm a bad swimmer. I'm still in the sea. You guys are all well and truly out running.
The human anchor, Sean. So when you're looking at, you're 21, you're about to go into probably the busiest year of your university life. You're going to come out the other side of that. You're into the system of physiotherapists and the long days and the tough days, and training's going to come. What's next for you in terms of the plans ahead? And we'll look into one or two of your other races, but in terms of what you're thinking now, and you're learning all the time, you're very modest. So where would you like this to go? What's a realistic expectation for you? Would you like to stay at this long term, or where do you see it going?
Yeah, I think it's kind of figuring out as well, like what kind of racing I enjoy. I don't know long term, will I want to go long course racing or stay kind of more with the short course? I think at the moment, short course definitely is what I enjoy more. It's all I've done, but I don't think I have the time really to train properly for long course racing either. Yeah, I suppose there's a lot of kind of aims once you get out of college. It just kind of all changes quite a bit as well. I don't like to think too much about kind of what I'm going into then after that, but I suppose like when you are in that like short course racing circuit, it's kind of most of the roads kind of end up leading towards the Olympics. So kind of 4 years out now, and I suppose I'll be 24 then for the LA Olympics. So yeah, that's probably the aim for now, but you never know how things work out then as well.
And what is the standard? Because obviously there's a standard for qualification, if I'm right, off the short course. What do you have to set your target on?
So I suppose the standard in Ireland in terms of like the girls who I'd be racing against is quite high at the moment. There's quite a few of us that are kind of at a pretty high level. I'd probably be, I don't know, around fifth or sixth probably in that pyramid, I suppose. So definitely not the best racer at the moment, but I suppose I'm also still younger than a couple of them as well, which yeah, when it comes to actual like Olympic qualification, Ireland will probably maximum only have 2 slots that they're able to get into the Olympics. So yeah, it does put a little bit of pressure kind of, and I suppose a little bit of, you're kind of competing against the other girls as well. But before it even comes to that, you need 2 people in the top of the world rankings really. So it's generally the top 50, if I'm right, top 55 in the world will get them Olympic slots. But then there's kind of other things around that change it. So generally, really, it's the top 80 or so in the world would actually get into the Olympics, just due to, say, the amount of athletes in Great Britain who are really, really strong, and they can only have a certain amount of people that end up actually making the Olympics. So it changes a little bit, but yeah, it's a complicated enough system to get in.
So a lot of work and a lot of coaching is needed, because coaches, I suppose, especially when you're learning and you're figuring out, they've made all the mistakes. They've had other athletes. Are you working with any coaches at the minute? Are you getting guidance on this? Triathlon Ireland, obviously, for if we're talking about our top 10 female triathletes in the country, obviously you're all in competition, but you're all at the end of the day trying to represent Ireland and represent yourselves and your clubs as best you can. Do you get any supports in that ambition to go after a dream like that, or what way is it working for you now?
Yeah, I suppose the guys have been really helpful in Triathlon Ireland. We do the odd training camp, so there's a couple of times during the year where we would be all training together, and then also opening the National Centre down in Limerick as well. So hopefully we'll kind of all be training a little bit more together as well. I think that having them people to train with is really, really important, and it just allows you to kind of push on that bit more. When I'm back home, I do have my own coach, and I have a couple of people kind of helping me out with different things. So I have my own running coach, and I have my own triathlon coach as well. And then I have my own swimming coach as well. So it kind of, it's, as I said, it's building that team around you, because it's quite a complicated sport in some ways, because you're trying to put 3 sports together. I think having input from a couple of different people can really help just kind of get the best out of you. But yeah, I suppose it depends on,
what does this schedule look like for a student athlete who's trying to figure out 3 sports? Obviously, as you correctly said, the short courses for this time, it's definitely the best for you, because when you go long, the hours, everything else has just gone on so long. How do you find the time? What does your schedule look like? How do you break down your week? Your summer holidays, do they become, this is it? Well, it's obviously racing time, because it lines up with the national series from about May time. You finish your exams and then all the way up until September. So it's great, but how do you fit your training around that? And what does a week of your training look like? You don't have to give away all the secrets to everyone else, but in a rough estimate.
I wouldn't say there's too many secrets now.
Strava has you there.
Yeah, exactly. I'd say, so again, it depends on the time of year. I think university as well, I have to kind of work in and around that. I said, I'm reeling in the training when it needs to be reeled in around like exam periods and stuff. But generally I'd be around kind of 18 to 20 hours a week. And yeah, I suppose it's broken up between the 3 of them. I'm trying with the run to get the right amount that I don't get injured. I think that's one of mine and my coach's main aims this year, is just that I kind of stay as injury free as possible and just get that consistency. I think that's kind of one of the main things with the training, is just trying to get that consistency over time. Yeah, I suppose it's the main thing that's going to push me on. In terms of like my general weeks, usually I'd be swimming around like 22 to 25 kilometers a week. So it's around 5 or 6 sessions. Then trying to do a bit of strength training once or twice a week, about an hour then as well, of each of them. And then the bike is the one that really varies from different times in the year. Just at the moment, like, it's again harder to get them bike hours in when you've kind of coming up to exams and stuff. And yeah, it's definitely the hardest one that I'm finding to fit in at the moment. And then from a running point of view, I'm kind of running about four days a week at the moment. So it's kind of 2 sessions, 1 easy run and then 1 longer run. So yeah,
So Sean has his abacus out here. You've named a lot of training sessions, and he's looking very confused. Have you mostly 2 training sessions a day, sometimes 3 a day? What way does it look?
Generally it's 2 a day, yeah, sometimes 3 a day, but generally 2. It's hard. You'd nearly like to have a day that's a bit easier, but then you'd have a day that's 5 or 6 hours long. So I find it a bit easier to kind of spread it over the whole week. You have the easier days and the harder days, but at the moment, just kind of trying to fit it in around studying and stuff, I find that's
so a shorter burst of training more often than longer sessions that tire or fatigue you much more. You know, is that kind of the aim, to fit in the study before, during, and after college?
Yeah, to some extent, yeah. Yeah, I suppose it depends on the week and stuff as well, and what's thrown on my training peaks. But yeah, most part.
I'm sure as well it kind of builds up and down towards different A races and different things like that. But one of the A races, I would assume anyway, would have been the Pulsport Beach Triathlon, where you were the Irish national champion.
Yeah, that was definitely one of the A races.
Unbelievable. Like that I mean, when you're talking earlier about being top 6 and stuff like that, I'm like, hang on, Irish national champion, that has to be a little bit higher than top 6, no? Is that not how it works?
Well, to a certain extent, most of the girls were racing abroad now this year a lot. So, yeah, I
If they're not in, they can't win.
Well, the cat's away.
It'd be nice, but yeah, I don't know. I don't know. Is that exactly how it works? Yeah, no, it was really good. It was a really good thing to win, I suppose, and it's a nice thing to kind of have there, and gives me a bit of confidence going forward as well. Yeah, it was a good race though.
Oh, that must be huge for you to do that. And then,
What does
like,
it,
you're
hold
doing.
on, hold on. Her
Yeah,
modesty is too much,
I'm
Sean.
about to, I'm just very modest. I don't want to go into
feel?
that, but yeah, I
What
know,
does it
I'm
feel
trying.
like? What did it feel like? Don't worry that the other girls are going to listen. They weren't there. What did it feel like?
No, it was good. It was good. It was a freezing swim. That's the main thing I remember from it, to be honest. Really, really, really cold. Yeah, you don't get a massive amount of that racing, I suppose, in Ireland as well. So it's nice when it does come around, but the fields are usually really, really small. So it does make it a bit less of what you'd expect. But yeah, no, it was very good. It did feel very good to win it. I was very happy with that. So
Well, look, it's I know, and it's, again, when you're surrounded by so many great people, it's important to be humble, because all you athletes, like, iron will sharpen iron. You'll all train together, you'll all do camps together, you'll grow now together through the sport. You'll have healthy friendships and not so friendships, and that's just the nature of sport. That's the nature of competing. But it supposes for young athletes, it's important to remember those wins, because each one of those is confidence. Each one of, because you've kept alluding to, my bike's not so good and my this is not so good, but you've done a hell of a lot of good that you can hold on to for confidence. In terms of your national champs, your the beach win. Like, are all of these feelings starting to outweigh the? We have a thing. Sorry, runners who are running for the last 5 years and they're running 3 days a week, but they don't run that fast. They're like, oh no, not a runner. I'm not a runner because I've seen Usain Bolt do 100 meters in 9.76 seconds. I'm not a runner. Do you feel a little bit like an imposter in the triathlon, or are you starting to feel a little bit more confident as you get more of these good feelings?
yeah, I think slowly, probably starting to get a little bit more confident, but definitely have a bit of the imposter syndrome, I think, there as well. Yeah, I think it's kind of trying to, there's a lot of things always going on with it, and it's kind of trying to find them good things, as you say, and then things that you are getting better at. That is one nice thing, because there's so many things going on. There's usually always something that's working a little bit better. So yeah, even when other things are going a bit badly, I suppose it's important to look at the positives of it as well. Yeah, it's a difficult one, kind of trying to get the best out of yourself, and pushing yourself as much as possible, and that's probably something I've done a bit too much in the past, and just, again, pushing myself kind of through that, just, yeah, too much. And yeah, you just kind of have to figure it out and know, again, when to kind of take a step back and realize how far you've come.
And look, we've had so many athletes on this who've set records and then they didn't even think about it. They just thought about, well, I could have ran that 4 seconds quicker. And I would have set another route, and I could have done that. I mean, I quit, because that's the competitive nature of athletes. And I suppose it's one thing that when we're just the fair weather athletes, myself and Sean, it's we just do it for the enjoyment and for the mental health side. Yes, we like to be better, but we're not in the fine margins like you. And so, of course, being analytical about your training, being hard on yourself, that little bit of aggressiveness towards yourself drives that competitive edge to go compete at high levels. But yeah, I suppose it is, when you're there, maybe in a couple of years, you'll look back and go, actually, that was kind of cool, or that was kind of good. But it so far seems like you have the right attitude. You're probably not aggressive enough. You're so humble, which is so great to see from a young athlete. But obviously, you're doing your talking on the bike, in the water, and on the run. And so far, everything seems to be going okay, and hopefully can progress a little bit further with the right coaching.
Yeah, exactly. I think, as you said there, having that enjoyment for it is really, really important when you're doing that much training, and it's a lot of it is by yourself and stuff as well. I think it's making sure that you are enjoying that training and seeing them little things that are going well is really, really important to help you keep going and keep progressing the whole time. It's a long enough road. So yeah, even now when you're in the off season, you kind of have to find them little victories all the time, because it's a long way till April and when the racing starts up again. So yeah, it's a yeah, you're kind of halfway in the middle all the time, I think.
And what's pushing you on towards April? Is there a particular race you have in mind for next year, or a particular goal? I know we talked earlier about LA in a couple of years' time, but over the next couple of months, build towards something. Do you have a particular race in mind that you're aiming for?
I've kind of talking to my coach at the moment about kind of the specific races and stuff. I'd definitely like to go over maybe to France next year and do a bit more racing over there, a bit more of the draft legal stuff. They kind of have a lot more kind of set in stone over there, so it can be really good again for them, different kind of triathlon skills that you only really get in the draft legal racing. So yeah, that'll be one of the main things next summer that I'll be going over there, hopefully. Yeah, in terms of other racing, I'm I'm always really bad at sorry, at remembering them all, but there's a few races on the calendar. Yeah, it's, I think for me as well, having kind of knowing when I'm looking at my training peaks that I have something else coming up over the next few months, it really helps me to kind of keep going on my training and keep pushing me on. I think otherwise, if you don't have anything kind of there to push you, it can be a little bit hard at times to really put the maximum amount of effort into the sessions that you need to put that extra bit in, and it can kind of help you find that bit more drive.
It's the fear of the race coming that keeps you driving on, isn't it?
Yeah,
It's just knowing that the deadline is coming and it's like, oh no, I need to keep this training up or I'm going to be left embarrassed on that day.
yeah. Hopefully not embarrassed. Hopefully not.
Well, on your level of embarrassment is way different to my Sean's level of embarrassment. Just completing a race is a victory for us too. But it is phenomenal to see what it is you're trying to do and the races you're going to try and get on. We're definitely going to follow it with a close eye and see. We've seen the great things you've done and we've heard so much, and it's going to be amazing to see what you do over the next 2 to 3 years and where that brings you and where triathlon in Ireland goes with a younger generation coming through, the under 23s and on into the senior level from there. And we can only hope you keep it on after university and choose to keep triathlon as a big part of your life.
Yeah, definitely. I think anything can happen really, but at the moment that seems to be the way it's going anyway. So yeah, hopefully everything will kind of end up going in the right path. There's always kind of the ups and downs and stuff as well, but yeah, hopefully everything ends up working out.
Absolutely brilliant. And this week's episode of the Any Given Runday podcast with myself, Saoirse, and Eric. Take care.